Sivia Caroline, Chair of JNF's Arts and Entertainment Task Force.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our first performance in the Arts and Entertainment's Imagination series presented by Lee and Susan Burke. I started the Arts and Entertainment Task Force with a passion for the arts and the understanding that music, art, entertainment, and culture is crucial to the development and success of any community. Later in the program, you'll hear more about some of the amazing initiatives of the task force, and we'd love for you to join us in supporting these programs. I want to give a very sincere thank you to Susan and Lee Burke, not only for sponsoring and helping to create this Imagination series, but for jumping in headfirst from the moment they joined the task force. Lee is also the namesake and a past president of the prestigious Berklee College of Music in Boston, and we are just so honored to have him and Susan on our task force to help bring the magic of arts and entertainment to the frontiers of Israel. We are excited to be joined by pianist and composer Tamir Hendelman. Born in Tel Aviv, now living in LA, Tamir has performed with artists such as Natalie Cole, Barbra Streisand, Diana Krall, and the Clayton-Hamilton Jazz Orchestra. He has recorded with Charles Aznavour, Michael Bublé, and Paul McCartney, just to name a few, and has played with orchestras all across the US. Moving to LA as a teen, Tamir won Yamaha's national keyboard competition, studied composition at Eastman School of Music, and teaches at UCLA. Tamir will share with us some music from home, his LA home, but also from his childhood home of Tel Aviv. You'll hear some Israeli melodies, an original or two, and perhaps even an American standard. And after the performance, he'll join us for some questions, and please feel free to submit some questions, and hopefully we will get to as many as we can. Please join me in welcoming our friend, Tamir Hendelman.
Thank you very much, Sivia, and great to be with everyone. I hope you're having a good and happy new year so far. And I'm very glad to be playing music from home, you know, in those very different meanings of home. I grew up in Tel Aviv until I was about 13. And growing up, my grandmother used to always sing the Israeli songs, and my whole family was musical. So I'm going to start today with a performance of a song that was written in 1957. This is by the composer Nachum Hyman, who came to Israel from Latvia. And he was a world traveler. He moved from kibbutz to Tel Aviv, to Sweden, to Lapland, Paris, and then back to Israel. And he was a shepherd, a film composer, a chorus master, and a songwriter. He wrote hundreds of songs, and one day he fell in love with the poems of Natan Yonatan. And this next poem or song is called Chofim. Chofim means shores, those beautiful beaches of Israel where the Mediterranean sun kisses the sea every night. And in this poem, Natan writes, Chofim hem lif'amim ga'aguim lenachal. Beaches sometimes long for the rivers that they come from. And I'm sure we can all relate to that feeling now, since we're all longing to be with each other. And since Nachum loved to improvise, I'm going to improvise for you on Chofim. Thank you very much, Chofim. So, thinking about these songs from my childhood, these are songs that I don't get to play every day. And a few months ago, I formed a group to play these songs. And I discovered many other songs that I remember hearing, and I didn't quite know too much about who wrote them. This next one was a real discovery. It was written by two guys who came from Ukraine to Israel when they were about 7 and 14 in the 1920s. And I'm speaking about Yaakov Orland. And as well, actually, before I play that one, I'm going to play one more that's a little different. I changed the program a little bit. This is more of children's song. I'm going to save the other one for the third selection. So I'll tell you a little bit about my childhood in Israel. So as a child, I loved to bike all around Tel Aviv, discovering new alleys, beaches, and markets. One day I passed a music store. Suddenly I heard a big band, or maybe it was an orchestra, I wasn't quite sure. And I looked inside and realized it was an electric organ. So I ran home, I asked my parents to get me one, and they happily did. And soon I was playing, learning songs, picking up songs from TV even. For example, have you ever heard, maybe some of you who are from Israel, if you grew up there 30 years ago, there was an Israeli theme to Sesame Street of all songs. And it was a really interesting song with great chords. And I wrote the TV station, and I asked them to send me the music. Sure enough, the composer sent me the music, and that was Yoni Rechter, one of the greatest songwriters in Israel. And, you know, children's songs in Israel don't sound like nursery rhymes. They're actually very, very hip. Like this next one. This is a song from a famous children's album, The 16th Sheep. And the name of the song is Hayalda Hachi Yafa Bagan. And you might wonder what that means. That means the most beautiful girl in kindergarten. Like I said, children's song in Israel sound a little bit different. Well, again, this next song was a song that was written by these two Ukrainian composers that, well, when they came to Israel, they were just children. But about 15 years later, in 1942, they met and they wrote this song. And the song is Shnei Shoshanim. Now, the composer, maybe you know the song Laila Laila. It's the same composer. And the song itself is kind of like, it doesn't really sound like a Ukrainian song. It sounds more like a Middle Eastern fairy tale. And it's a tale about two roses, a white rose and a red rose. And they grow up together in this garden, and they live there. And one night, one of them gets plucked. And we never know whether it's the white one or the red one. So here is Shnei Shoshanim, two roses. Thank you very much. And I think I'd like to take a little bit of a short intermission and introduce you to my friend Scott Gelb. So Scott, the stage is yours.
Wow, thank you so much, Tamir. Truly inspiring. But don't go away, we want to hear more songs. I'm just going to take a few moments here. My name is Scott Gelb, and I am a proud JNF Arts and Entertainment Task Force member and a Negev Society major donor. Our Arts and Entertainment Task Force brings cultural opportunities to communities in the Negev and Galilee to help these areas flourish. We know that music, dance, theater, and all culture results in a greater quality of life and more educational and economic opportunities. We are so proud to have built the largest amphitheater in Israel, 12,000 seats, in the heart of Beersheba. So hey, Tamir, you'll have to play for us there sometime, hopefully soon. We started a music program for children to learn piano, guitar, singing, and more right in the JNF Sderot Indoor Playground, where thousands of kids can play while living on the border with Gaza. Each project, each program, and each partnership is consistent with our strategic vision of population growth in the frontiers of Israel. I love that by investing in JNF, we help Israel's next generation of pioneers. JNF opens the world of melody and harmony. It's for that reason that JNF is my voice in Israel. Your support to JNF is not only needed, but ensures the Israel of today will exist tomorrow. Right now, you are getting an email and a text message from JNF. Now, Tamir is coming back to play for us, so after the program ends, please open the email or text message and find a place in your heart and join me in supporting JNF. And hey, if you want to learn more about how you can join the Arts and Entertainment Task Force, please send me a chat on here. And now, it's with such pleasure we bring back our friend, Tamir Hendelman.
Thank you so much, Scott. So now I'll tell you a little bit about a trip that I took a few years ago. Since it's the holidays, I recall that my wife's first trip to Israel was very special. We visited the north and we took an evening hike one night. And the moon was full, the coyotes were howling, and we got a little lost. But we found our way back to the village where we were staying. And I dared to knock on a stranger's door, telling my wife, "We're in Israel, we'll be fine." Well, the family that opened their home to us invited us to their Sukkot table and even offered us a place to stay for the night. I then wrote this waltz about that adventure and just about the warm Israeli spirit I always love when I visit home. Here's Israeli Waltz.
Well, I missed the entire house.
Thank you very much. Well, Sylvia might have mentioned to you that I might play a standard or two. And this next song is a standard, but I'll tell you how it is connected with what is happening now, as well as with how I grew up in Israel. Well, we lived right in the center of Tel Aviv, my family and I. We were on a small street on the top floor of a 4-story apartment building. My great-grandfather was on the first floor, my grandmother on the second, her cousin on the third, and me and my brothers playing the organ on the fourth. Most Fridays we had a big Shabbat dinner with all the relatives, and the TV would show some American movie musical, maybe Singing in the Rain, or My Fair Lady by Lerner and Lowe. And later these songs came back to my fingers. So this next song seems especially appropriate nowadays, since we're all spending a lot of time at home. And I know I can find you on the street where you live. Thank you. On the street where you live, one of my favorite standards. Well, I'd like to thank Sharon Joy and Sylvia and Scott and the JNF for inviting me to play for you. And also I have special thanks to Lee and Susan Burke for supporting this wonderful new Imagination series. And I also know that your support of this wonderful organization is going to light up the lives of children in Israel in wonderful artistic ways. So thank you for your generosity. The final song tonight is a song that it's by one of my favorite Israeli songwriters, Mati Kaspi. Mati famously recorded with Shlomo Grunich a wonderful album called Behind the Sounds. He also brought the music of Brazil to Israel, as you'll hear in this next song, Hine Hine. The lyrics talk of a melody being born, then taking flight, of a love that takes place and then flies away, and of a new year that begins and quickly takes wing. So, I wish you all Shana Tova and Gmar Chatima Tova. I hope that your new year will take flight in just the ways you'd like it to. And, well, in this song, in English you would call it Here, Here, but in Hebrew, Hine, Hine. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tamir. So we have a few questions from the audience, if you don't mind.
Of course.
So you've worked with a wide variety of vocalists: Barbra Streisand, Natalie Cole, John Pizzarelli. How is being an accompanist different than being a solo artist? And what is it like to work with such amazing, well-known artists?
Well, from pretty much early on, I got a chance to work with a lot of different kinds of vocalists, some of them very bluesy, some very dreamy. And one thing I learned pretty quickly is that the great thing about the standards is that they can be molded, they can be played in so many different ways. And that's one of the great things about having these songs that we all love and they've been done thousands of ways. So really it's about connecting with the vocalist. And then when you do play as a soloist, when I lead my own trio, then I just get to call more shots, figure out what am I really trying to say and what's the next album going to be about, what's the vibe that I want to have in my band. So, but it's really all about working with each other and making each other sound good.
And we have a question actually about the painting, that the painting behind you is beautiful. Can you tell us who the artist is?
Yes, her name is Leslie Margolis. I invite you to visit her website online. She happens to be someone who is a wonderful artist and also a budding musician. So we've worked together and this was kind of a special gift from her. So Leslie Margolis.
Beautiful. What do you think attracts Israeli musicians to jazz, and what is the Israeli jazz scene like in America?
Well, a lot of Israeli musicians come to the New York area or Boston to go to Berkeley, for example. It's a great school, and New York it's kind of known as the heart of jazz, right? I came to LA with my family, so we had a different route. But as far as what draws Israelis to jazz, I think it's that whole melting pot. You know, you think about all the different cultures in Israel, you think about all the different cultures in jazz. It's really, you know, it came from the Black American experience, but it really invites everyone from all around the world to put their own flavor into the mix. So that's my take on it.
Lovely. Growing up in Israel, what musical memories do you have that inspired you?
Well, you know, as I mentioned before, you know, studying the organ, I got to play in the Scouts. There was a musical theater troupe, and there was a singer who came and wanted to work with us, and he brought in the musical Oliver Twist. So I got to musically direct my first musical when I was about 10 or 12. And it happened to be that right across from my great-grandfather's apartment, there was a musical production company. And so this friend that helped make this show happen, you know, he visited our apartment and he said, you know, Bobby McFerrin is coming to town. Would you like to come see him? And I remember being in that audience. Bobby McFerrin was the only person on stage, and he just had us in the palm of his hand. You know, he had us sing with him, classical music, jazz, blues, the whole thing. And I thought, I'd like to do that one day. Maybe not sing on stage, but perform and share music with others. So that was one of my earliest favorite inspiring musical memories.
Pretty memorable. So we just have time for one more question. And then can I ask you to stick around for one more song for an encore?
Of course, I'd love that.
Great. So last question is how do you and other musicians stay connected and keep the art and music alive during this crazy time we're living through?
This has been a really unusual time. I mean, many touring musicians, myself included, all of a sudden found that we had 3 months of touring that we've been working for 2 years to make happen, and suddenly it all just poof, you know, went away. So quickly we go to the drawing board and we think, how can we stay connected with people? And of course, some of us teach, as I do. But I myself started doing weekly concerts from home, solo piano concerts. And every week I ended up doing a different tribute to different people. And kind of it's been a way for me to rediscover different artists, whether it's Gershwin or Chick Corea or different people like that. And we also collaborate with each other. So sometimes we'll do a concert where each of us records our own little section and then we combine it into a special video concert or live with masks, you know. Ended up doing a concert of some of this music with a wonderful bassist, John Clayton. So I think, you know, like somebody famous said, where there's a will, there's a way. So we ended up figuring out a way to get through this period and come together with our audience.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much. And before you do your encore, I'd just like to welcome my friend and partner in the Arts and Entertainment Task Force, Sharon Joy.
Shalom, everybody. Toda rabah, Tamir, for such a beautiful performance. And thank you, of course, once again to the Berks and to all our Jewish National Fund Arts and Entertainment Task Force members. And to you, Sivia, our national chair, and my colleague, Nuriel Shor, thank you so much. David Ben-Gurion, Israel's first prime minister, famously said that in Israel, in order to be a realist, you must believe in miracles. Well, in a year with so many challenges and instability, Jewish National Fund continues to believe in miracles, in dreams coming true, and remains a force of stability and goodness in our world. JNF's fiscal year ends 1 week from today, and I'm so proud to share that we have not only met our campaign goal, we have surpassed it. We have raised $94 million, and in a year like ours, this is nothing short of miraculous. And you, our JNF partners, are our miracles. You are the reason why this success is our reality and why the unthinkable is so achievable. Evenings like this keep us connected. So please do join our Jewish National Fund family. Join lay leaders from around the country who have the same core values. Our hearts really do beat as one. And we sincerely hope that you will find a place in your heart to contribute, because we cannot do the miraculous work that we do without your involvement and without your donations. And also stay tuned for the next Imagination Series programs. So we thank you for your unwavering commitment to our brothers and sisters in Israel. We wish you Shana Tova and Gmar Chatima Tova to each and every one of you. And back to you, Tamir, for one more song for our encore. Please, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I'd like to leave you all with one more children's song. This is a hopeful one that is perfect for our time. And it was written by Nurit Hirsch and Ehud Manor. And the lyrics say, you will see how wonderful it will be in the new year. Here's Bashana Haba'a. Shana Tova.
Thank you so much, Tamir. That was incredible. And thank you all for joining us. Shana Tova, Gmar Chatima Tova.
Toda Rabba.